Hello. Today I thought I'd give you a little bit of an insight into how we made the movie Suspicious Mind. Suspicious Minds was a movie that I was going to produce with one of my university friends. Now, she and I were kind of the only two really who left university with this kind of fire underneath us, who actually wanted to, once we'd left university, once we graduated, to get out there and kind of make a movie, actually get out there and do this thing. There's a lot of people who went off and did other jobs and weren't really interested. They did their film degree and then that was it really. They kind of petered out. We didn't really hear anything else from them. But us two, we were the only two who kind of really had this fire and this passion to get out and make movies. We really wanted to do this thing. So I looked into investing into a camera, and the whole idea was that we were going to be making these movies together. So some that I would write and direct, some that she would write and direct, and we kind of chop backwards and forwards. It would be a my project, a her project, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I went out and I looked at this big video camera, this brand new camera, state of the art at the time, in order to make the movies. We invested a lot of money into that, and we thought that that's what we were going to do. Now, me and my friend at university, we were going to form this company, and the company then was going to be called Relentless Pictures. And it was, like I said, it's going to be equal share. It's going to be half her stuff, half my stuff, and see where we go in the future with that. Unfortunately, during the production of Suspicious Mind, she had a boyfriend and he came along, and while we were making the movie, he would kind of constantly turn up midway through the shoot and say, can we close this thing down now? Let's all just go for a curry. We've filmed enough now, haven't we? And we're like, well, no, we've got scenes to shoot. We've got a set list and we've got a set list of shots that we need to do for this period. And it was getting more and more like that. And in the end, we had to say, this isn't going to work. We need to have days where we shoot constantly without interruption. We need to tick off the shots that we need to get done in this scene so that we can move on to the next scene. And it was just delaying things and making things awkward. And in the end, she kind of sided with him, and we couldn't work things out. So we decided to break apart right then. We shot a lot of the scenes at her flat at the beginning of Suspicious Mind. So a lot of the scenes you see in the film where there's a guy sat in a flat with a fish tank and the kitchenette and all that business and the television, that was shot in their flat. And that was the only scenes that we shot there, and everything else was shot off my back in other locations that I went and found. So some of her stuff is still in the film, and she is credited as a camera person on the film. But there you go. So from there on out, we had to kind of find our own footing. So I had to find a couple of other camera people and make treads forward. So obviously with her out of the picture, Relentless Pictures became a bit null and void. We didn't really need that name. And I spoke to my wife. I said, well, look, as it's just us now, why don't we just call it Mancini Pictures after our surname? And that's where the Mancini Pictures came from. So this is the official first Mancini Pictures production. Although I'd made films before in my past, as we were setting out on this path to make movies with a series of ideas that I'd already had in hand, this was going to be the first Mancini Pictures movie. So how did the story come about for Suspicious Mind? Well, I've always been influenced by two kinds of directors. I've always been influenced by John Carpenter, and you can see some of that in the work for Alone, and possibly in It's My Party, which I'm not going to be showing on this channel, and also in Don't Fear the Reaper. So you'll have three kind of John Carpenter influences in those films. But in this first one, I wanted to pay homage to one of my other favourite directors, which is Alfred Hitchcock. You will see elements in Suspicious Mind from some of Alfred Hitchcock's work, in particular from Psycho. Obviously, we've got a motel there. We've got a question, obviously from Psycho. We've got a shower scene, again from Psycho. And you've got the questionable blonde, again from Psycho, or maybe from Marnie. So yeah, we play off those influences in Suspicious Mind, and I wanted to incorporate that into the film. You'll also see a director's cameo from myself. I think it's the only one I've made in any of the films I've done. You have to see if you can spot me in that film. And also there's a little kind of homage to Hitchcock himself. If you watch Suspicious Mind, you might be actually able to see Hitchcock in the film himself somewhere near the beginning. That's all I'm going to say, but just watch out for that Hitchcock cameo. So yeah, that was the main kind of the influence behind Suspicious Mind and the story of Suspicious Mind. That's the way we wanted to go. So where did the characters come from in Suspicious Mind? Our Colin character in this film, he's quite quiet. He just wants to go and do his job, but he's being dragged out for Steve's birthday, and he feels belittled by the rest of them. He doesn't want to be. You can see he doesn't want to be there. He keeps checking his watch, but the rest of the people are kind of saying to him, go off and get a drink, go and do this for us, go and do that for us. And they're always putting upon him in order to make themselves feel better. And kind of Steve and his hyenas are laughing at him. And it's just that kind of school kind of playground mentality that they have, which they carried on into kind of older life, if you know what I mean. So yeah, the Steve character, somebody who's kind of overbearing, everything's got to be about them, everything's got to be important, kind of whatever you're doing is rubbish compared to what they're doing, and they've got to be the focus of attention in every way, shape or form. So that's where the Steve character came from. And of course, Simon and Mark are the other two characters who hang around with Steve. They're there, you know, to make him feel good, to kind of pony him up, if you know what I mean, make him feel great about himself. But what I decided to do in the context of this story is eventually to have them slip out from underneath Steve's shadow once they can see what's going on, once they can see what Steve's doing, and they realise that it's not a good thing, the fact that he's bullying this young lad, or this Colin character. And you know, that's the way that we wanted to play that story out. And also into the frame, you know, the thing that kind of sets our whole story in motion is the arrival of Rebecca, who was played by Sarah in the film. And she's the catalyst. Steve thinks he can go up there. He's so full of himself, so confident and full of himself that he thinks that he can walk away with this beautiful girl at the bar. And when that doesn't happen, he sends Colin up to get the drinks because he's so angry. And then when Colin starts to form a relationship, Steve can't handle it. Steve starts to kind of have a go at him and belittle him and say, no, she's only after you for your money, and kind of this kind of business. And that's what plants the seeds, if you like, of suspicion in Colin's head. And that's where the whole kind of idea and the whole concept of the story came about. Suspicious Mind had a number of production issues from the off. Obviously, we lost our co-producer right at the very beginning when we were called Relentless Pictures, and obviously we had to reset and reform and become Mancini Pictures. So that was the first step out the door. And of course, across the production of the film, we had a number of issues with locations. We were promised an office that we could film in, which then let us down at the last minute. We had to go and film in a little, I think it was like a little school down in Southsea. It was very, very last minute. And, you know, I've got to thank Sydney for arranging that for us, because we were due to go and film. We had all our actors, and then the office said, nope, you're not going to film here. And we had to quickly rush off somewhere else. Sydney phoned someone up, got this kind of little small production office for us. Wasn't on the scale that we were intending it to be. It was supposed to be a proper accountancy office, so you would have had desks and people working at desks and things like that. But that fell through. So obviously everything came down to this tiny little temporary office, which is why we put those labels on the door to try to make it look like a temporary office, which is the scene where Steve and Colin have the fight inside there. So yeah, we lost a number of locations along the way, but we had to fix them, kind of patch them up with other locations that we could get. There was sound issues with the microphone. The microphone was playing up. There was lighting issues. We couldn't get the lights to work properly. Some of them were kind of burning out and blowing up and things like that. So it was a lot of kind of problems along the way. One of the fortunate things we had is that my wife's brother was running a pub and motel at the time. So, of course, that provided us with a number of our locations. If you look at the film, we've got the motel, obviously, where the murder scene takes place. So you've got that on the side. You've also got the scene where Colin and Rebecca go for a coffee at the beginning. That's the same place. That's the pub, but it's off a little corner from the pub. The very beginning scene of the film where you get Rebecca meeting the other character, where she's sitting down and going on about the modelling and the photographs and things like that, and where we see Hitchcock in the area. That's again the same pub, bar, restaurant. So we sectioned that off, made it look like somewhere else. And then you've got the bar itself. So the bar, the little coffee shop, and the back restaurant are all one big area. And it's really, really great to film in, because you can make it look like different areas. You wouldn't know that it was just the same place. So it's really fortunate that Fiona's brother was running the place at the time. And of course we had the motel at the back. So we had 4 locations in one place. The problem is that we had to shoot once the bar had closed. So we had to do everything after 11 o'clock at night. So everybody was very tired. Everybody had to have their wits about them. It was also in the middle of summer. It was baking hot. We had to have the windows open in the pub, which of course let all kinds of bugs and everything else in. So we would shoot from 11 o'clock at night right through until the first strains of sunlight in the morning to do those night shoots in the bar with Steve and with Simon and Mark and Colin, of course, and of course with Rebecca. And we had to shoot, like I say, shoot those through the night. Had to do it until the sun came out. We actually had to stop when the birds started singing. So once the birds started singing, we thought, well, you know, we've got to have the windows open because it's too hot in here. We have to stop shooting now because the birds are singing, and we don't really want that on the film. So we'd have to pack up then, rearrange everybody for the next night, come back the next night and do it all again. So yeah, it was quite an arduous shoot, quite a big shoot. And of course, for something that's supposed to be a short film, when you leave university, they don't tell you what the confines of a short film are. Now, in general, I think short films are about 12 to 15 minutes long. And of course, Suspicious Mind is 46 minutes long, but I just wanted to carry on shooting because I wanted to tell the story. And I think if I'd have chopped anything out of it, shrunk it down to 15 minutes, you would have lost a really good story. You would have lost the guts of the thing. So that's what I wanted to do. I just thought, well, you know what, let's just shoot this thing. It's going to be a long thing. It's almost not quite a feature film. It's kind of half a feature film. But let's go shoot it anyway and see how it turns out. But that was great because we allowed the characters to breathe a little. We allowed the characters to grow and for you to kind of follow the progress of Colin and Rebecca throughout the course of the story. And of course, follow the progress of Steve and him. Every time he was hearing about them having a great relationship, he was amping up a little bit, getting a little bit more angrier. And yeah, so it was great for that sense, really. So we had a little bit more time with the running time of the film, it being 46 minutes long. So shooting the pub itself didn't come without its own problems. I remember I was really looking forward to the murder scene, which was the scene which is the culmination, if you like, of this whole story. And I'd kind of saved it for myself. I thought what we'll do is we'll go out and shoot all these dialogue scenes, the interactions between Steve, Mark, Simon and Colin, and of course the interactions between Colin and Rebecca at the bar, and all that business. We'll get all that heavy stuff done first. And then what we could also do is, because the murder scene is minimal, with minimal characters, we can let those peripheral characters go. So Steve, Mark and Simon can go. And the concentration will be on Colin and also Rebecca and any other characters that are left around behind. So yeah, so I wanted to save this thing for myself, if you know what I mean. I was a big horror fan. I really wanted to see the gory scene and stuff like that. I'd written something really good, something really tense that I wanted to film for myself. Come the day of the shoot, what happened is we'd done the scene where Colin's marching up and down the corridor, and you might spot me in one of the cameos just there. And also the scene where he's kind of listening to this character inside the motel room. Everything was in the motel room on this final scene. We'd done all those scenes, worked it all out, that was great. What we decided to do early hours of the morning is stop and have a bit of a lunch break. So we'd have these sandwiches which we bought from, I think it was from one of the local supermarkets on the way up. So we'd have these sandwiches, we had some crisps, obviously some other snacks as well, and some drinks. Mellowed down for a little bit. Then we went into rehearsals for the shot. So we went into rehearsals and we're going backwards and forwards. I'm lining the camera up, making sure the lighting's right, saying, right, it's got to be here for this shot, making sure that we're getting this shadow here, this look here, and all that business. And Sydney's kind of following me around and she's watching what I'm doing and she's taking hold of the camera. I said, you know, that's great. That was just fantastic. So she was shadowing me. And we were all getting set up. We'd rehearsed it a few times. This was going to go here. That move was going to go there. We don't want to see that lamp. We don't want to see this bit of the room. We don't want to see reflections of the lights or any of that business. And while we were going through the rehearsals, I was beginning to feel a little bit queasy. I don't know what it was. At the time, we had these big red head lamps on and they blast out a lot of heat, but they also suck the moisture out of the air. So I don't know if that was doing something to me, but I was running around the room, obviously building up a lot of energy and kind of looking at shots this way and that. And it was during this period that, like I said, I was feeling a little bit queasy. And I thought, I'm just going to take a little sit down for a minute. And I said to Sydney, I said, look, can you just rehearse with the actors, look through the camera, see everything's okay, and just do that while I just take a bit of a breather over here. So I was taking this bit of a breather, sitting around, and I thought I would get better after about 10 minutes, but I didn't. I was actually getting remarkably worse. I was getting into hot sweats. I was feeling dizzy. I was feeling headachy. I was feeling very, very unwell. So I said to my wife, I said, look, can I go sit in another room at the moment? I just need a bit of darkness. Just need to reset myself, drink a lot of water and see how I feel. So I went into that other room and I never left that other room. I got very, very violently ill. I was, like I say, sweating a lot, feeling very, very bad. And I never managed to get out to the room. And of course, all these actors are now sitting around thinking, when are we going to do this shot? When, we're ready, we've rehearsed it to death. When are we going to do this shot? And my wife came in, she said, are you able to come back and do this? And I said, you know what? I actually don't think I am. I really do think I'm in a very, very bad way. And I've got this pounding headache and everything's spinning. And it was the nausea, I think, was the worst about the whole thing. I said, look, would you mind asking Sydney whether she would take the camera? She knows what we've done. She's looked through the camera. And see if she can do the shoot. If she does the shoot and I don't like it, we're going to have to all come back another day and redo this again when I'm feeling better, because at the moment I feel like absolute hell. Anyway, she went back in and she said, would you mind doing this? And Sid knew what she was doing, so she knew how to operate the camera and get the framing and all that stuff done. And she said, yeah, and she was a real trooper. She did a fantastic job. So she went in and worked with the rest of the actors for the night. And I just lay back on that bed and I was gone. I was feeling absolutely terrible. My wife had to run everybody back home because we were quite a way away from where we all live. So she had to run everybody back home and I had to stay in that hotel room overnight, and then she had to come and collect me the next morning when I still wasn't feeling very, very well. And what we worked out is that one of the sandwiches that we had was maybe like a day out of date, one of these sealed packet sandwiches. And it was the last one left, and I was kind of being a so-called hero, and I said, look, it's a prawn sandwich, fine, I'll have it. You know, all the chicken ones are gone, all of the other ones are gone, I'll have the prawn sandwich, it's fine, I'll have something to eat just to get my energy up. And I kind of, well, definitely wish that I hadn't bothered then. So yeah, I had this bad spell, I was in this hotel room, motel room if you like, and Sid had gone ahead and shot the shots. It was a few days later, possibly a week later, when I put the thing into the edit once I was feeling better, not so dizzy. And she'd done a fantastic job. And my wife was telling me there was one really, really funny but also very scary moment. I said, well, what was that? She had to do the syringe work. So when Colin is stabbing the characters, we wanted a spray of blood to go up into his face and for him to react and kind of go back with it. She did this, but she didn't realise how powerful the syringe was. And of course, once she plunged it down, it shot and hit Rob in the face. And it also went all over these brand new painted walls, all over this bedding, which was brand new in this new motel, in a room that hadn't been used yet. We were the first people in there. And she said she was kind of devastated. It went everywhere. So they spent kind of most of the evening, once all the actors had gone home, her and Sid scrubbing this stuff off the walls as best as they can. Luckily, her brother was the manager of the pub and he didn't mind so much. He said, we'll get it cleaned up. We'll get some industrial cleaner and then clean it up. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. But it was obviously a bit scary for her to see all this blood go over all this brand new walls and brand new motel room, if you like. So yeah, that was a little incident that happened at the end of the shoot. I think it was about a week or so later. Like I said, I put the thing in the edit, put it all together, and it looked pretty good. The only thing is we had sound issues again, we had light issues again, and Suspicious should have been out a lot sooner than what it was, but because of those issues, because we had to have those things fixed, it got delayed, and Guilty Conscience came out first. We sent the whole thing off to our composer, Patrick Moore, and Patrick looked at the thing and he said, oh, I can fix those sound things for you. And he did an absolutely miracle job. He sent the thing back to me. It's like the film had been transformed. And of course, then he added his fantastic score over the top. And that was it. That was Suspicious Mind. There was a 46-minute long film. I think it still works to this day. I think it's a very good film. Great characters. The characters play very well off each other. The actors are fantastic. Everybody gave their all for this overly long film. Like I say, short films probably should be around 15, 16 minutes long, maybe less than that. But this one was 46 minutes long, so it's quite a long film. So if you get the opportunity, please go and have a look at that film. It's on YouTube now in its entirety. And please click on the like button because it's got less likes than Suspicious Mind and Alone. Alone is racing out the door. Last time I looked at it, something like 9,000 likes. Suspicious Mind is hovering around 560, 530, something like that. So yeah, if you can go and give it a little bit of love to Suspicious Mind, that would be great. All you have to do is click on the thumbs up button and it will help that film out a little bit. I think it's a good film. I think it deserves a bigger audience. So the more that you can click on that thumbs up button, the bigger the audience it will get. Also, in general, thank you guys for coming and having a chat in the comments. I'm glad you're appreciating the films. I'm glad that you are rewatching them. And like I said, the numbers are going up and up, which is fantastic. But yeah, if you can just click on the thumbs up button when you watch one of those, it's all free, doesn't cost you a penny. If you've got a YouTube account, click on that, and then you have to leave it alone. And then the same thing with subscribing as well. We got quite a few good subscribers on it, so I appreciate all you brand new subscribers. But yeah, if you can click on the subscribe button, if you've got a YouTube account, again, it doesn't cost you anything. You won't be inundated with emails and stuff like that. All it will do is it will help boost our films, and it will enable me to go on and make these brand new stories that I've got sitting on the side here waiting to go. So yeah, if you can subscribe to the channel, let's get the subscriptions up, and then once we get awareness out there, we can actually go out and make some new films for you. We're just ready and raring to go. We're going to be looking at a new camera very soon, looking at a new crew very soon. You know, the fire is in there again, so let's go out and make some brand new Mancini pictures. Thank you very much for watching this one, and I will see you all very, very soon. And in the meantime, if you haven't seen it, go and have a look at Suspicious Mind. I think you'll enjoy it. Take care.